Good morning, Bill.
Well, good morning, Mark. How are you today?
Good, and it's good to see you in person instead of on the end of a phone line because your little episode with COVID.
Yes, it is good to be back, except my voice has changed, that's for sure, but I can't help that. But it's this is the fourth podcast we've done this week, and we've got another one this afternoon.
Yep, and it's our series 3. So
It
we've
is.
been doing this for nearly 3 years.
We have. So we'll see where we are in another 3 years. But the big issue today for me, I guess, Mark, is the weather and the fires up in the Wimmera because, as you know, I'm a director of Loverduck and we have a large facility based in Nil and we're really worried about what's going on up there at the moment. And we've got a number of farms who are contracted to grow our produce for us, or our birds, I should say. And on days like today, you just sit around and hope to God that nothing untoward happens.
Yeah, because there's quite a few farm buildings gone already, hasn't
there? There has. A fair bit away from Nil, but the Wimmera is as dry as dry.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, Bill, who's today's guest?
Well, thank you, Mark. Today we have Carmel Brown. Welcome, Carmel.
Thank you, Bill. It's great to be here.
Carmel is now let's get this right, Carmel, the managing director, the owner,
all of
the
the
gopher,
above.
all of that
All of
for
the
the Proven Group.
Yes.
And the Proven Group is a multifaceted, I guess you'd call, in simple terms, we would call it an HR company, but it goes much further than that, I know. So welcome, Carmel.
Thank you.
So, Carmel, the journey we always do is, where did you go to primary school?
I went to primary school at St. Alepius Primary School in Ballarat.
Ballarat. So you're
Yes.
a Ballarat person. It's easy
Yes.
for you to say.
How's your tongue this morning?
Goodness
Twister?
me. And through primary school into high school in Ballarat as well?
Yes, Sacred Heart, right across the road.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And while you were there, what were you thinking you were going to do?
Initially, I thought I was going to be a nurse, and then I was fascinated by law. So then I thought, maybe will I be a legal secretary? So start there. And then psychology and human behaviour started to fascinate me as I went into St Martin's to do year 11 and 12. But they didn't offer psychology, which I did study in year 10. So as you do year 11 and year 12, and then you start your after school job. And then so I've been heavily ever since then in customer service.
So what was your first job?
My first job was in the deli
As
at
you
Coles
do.
supermarket. 14 years and 9 months to the day. I think Mum took me for the interview.
Well, how often do we hear that? 14 years and something.
Yeah.
I started in the supermarket.
Yes.
Yeah, the Coles, Woolies, Target,
That's
Kmart,
right.
That's
all
right.
good starting places.
Yes.
And McDonald's, obviously.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course.
So from high school then, working the deli, what was your first sort of serious full-time role then?
First series, because I had 2 and 3 jobs for many years, because then Coles ended up becoming a second job. I then used to work for a company called Lawrence & Co., which was a debt collection agency.
Yes, I do remember them.
Yeah.
Not because they served notice on me, but I do remember them.
No, not. So I did work there. Then I got into hospitality. So it's always been customer service and then getting up to more the management. That was sort of 10 years there. Then my next 10 years was in pharmacy.
Oh, wow. And what were you doing in pharmacy?
Pharmacy, I was a dispense, like pharmacy assistant, then a dispense tech, and then managed the pharmacy I was in. And I must admit, I do look back now that if I wasn't didn't have my business, I think I may have gone on to be a pharmacist.
Oh, that's interesting.
That's interesting.
Now, while all that is going on and as you're growing up, what did you do outside of school? What were your hobbies? Did you play sport? What were your interests?
Mm-hmm. So we did play netball because my brother and my dad were heavily involved in football. And my maiden name is Rinaldi, so we actually had the Rinaldi's riding school. My grandma had that. So pretty much my hobbies were riding horses.
Is that near Ballarat or out in Ballarat?
In Warren Heap, so
Yes.
just out of Ballarat. Yes,
Yeah.
just out as a riding school. So we used to ride.
Well, there's a lot of horse-related industry in Ballarat, and just out of interest, I happened to be at the Ballarat Turf Club last year at a breakfast, and boy, has that moved ahead.
Yes.
And there's a huge investment, And Mark, I don't know if you realise, but some of the top trainers are moving up there now. It's a great facility, and you've got another racetrack on the way out to Learmont. I think might have one race a year or something like that.
Yes,
it is really a horse town. Isn't it
is a horse town.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you still ride?
No.
It's interesting. Again, it's interesting just talking to people who grew up around horses, rode horses, and then as they got into their adult life, the horse just the money pit, as some people call them.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so no, I don't ride anymore.
Well, we do have a colleague whose daughters are into
horse riding,
really into horses and
show
competition, show jumping, etc. And it's all consuming.
Yes.
Yeah, we can see that.
Very much.
All right.
So from pharmacy, when did you think I need to run my own business? Where did that germinate from?
So what happened when I was in pharmacy, my sister, she was actually going back to work after having her daughter, and she thought, well, she needs to apply for a job, need a resume for that. It's like, how do I write a resume? Where do I get one, etc. So that's how the business was founded, from writing resumes from home.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's how it all began.
Well, there we go, Mark. Back to our tipping point. Yep. Something out of left field happened.
Yeah.
That you just tipped you into having a crack at writing a resume, and then here we are today. You're running an award-winning HR company.
Yes, I am. Speaking
of award-winning, let's talk for a minute about Geelong Business Awards, because last year you won the small business section. You want to talk about entering that and what you got out of that?
Yes, absolutely. That was it was a great process. Going in any of the awards is always a good process because it allows us to look at the business, but to go back not only for what we've achieved, but what we maybe could have done better or didn't go our way or whatever that may have turned out. But with the Geelong, it's very different to the others that we've entered and won, mainly because the process is, in a good way, very, very strict in that even putting the award together, but the interview process, we were very disciplined this year because we did go in the awards last year and we were finalists, but we did not win, and we understand where we went a little bit not quite right in our interview. Yep. But this year we learnt from that. And so all the slides were actually timed. Each section was given its correct. So we followed instructions this year.
Yeah, that's interesting, Mark, isn't it? Because Mark and I are actually judges, but we didn't judge you, I might add.
No.
And we encourage people that if they do have a crack at entering the awards, and they get very disappointed, of course, if they don't get anywhere, but we do that. We actually encourage them to have another go at it. And we were talking about somebody that judged you last year, and that's Jessie at Crewfaced, and she had multiple attempts, but she won 3 or 4 awards.
Yes.
So you just don't give up.
No, she's in the Hall of Fame, I think, now.
She's not allowed to win anything else.
No.
There's only something you can win. So from writing the resume, tell us, how did the business grow? Where did it go?
Yeah. So then what happened is about 3 years probably writing resumes from home. There was one particular day I was writing a resume for a graduate accountant, and there was just something about him, something stand out that I thought I would love to introduce him to another an accountant that I know. And so I rang him and said, look, you might not even have a job available at the moment, but I've just informally interviewed, and would love you to meet Bob. And he said, yeah, I'm happy to meet him and have a chat with him. Anyway, he actually ended up hiring him because he could see what I could see. And it made me feel just so good to be able to introduce a resume client to an employer. And that's when the recruitment arm of the business started, because wouldn't it be great if we could write and introduce to many employers? And that was a real light bulb moment.
Okay. And so how did you build that?
Yeah, so then what I did do is I actually joined BNI. And the reason that I did was because recruitment does have a tarnished name sometimes, in that depending on somebody's experience. And because I was born and bred Ballarat, I wanted people to know that it was actually me behind the word recruitment. And through that is how I actually built that we call them pillars now because there are 9. We started with 1. And from there, that's when we went into HR for about another 2-3 years on. We're getting asked for more that transactional type of foundation, the policies, procedures, employment contracts, and I wasn't going back to school to learn how to do all of that. So I approached another business owner in Ballarat that is very reputable, and she had her own HR company, and I actually asked her to partner with me. And could you please do the HR work that I keep getting asked about? And she's like, yeah, that'd be great. Love doing the work, but I hate going to get it. Whereas I was always the one to be able to bring the work in.
Yeah, that's good. It's which is sort of now we've leapfrogged to where we are today. And as I've said, your business is not just what we call a standard HR business.
No.
And particularly if you go onto your website, you'll see all the different disciplines and industrial relations. And, you know, we were talking before about training in the soft skills and all sorts of things. Mm-hmm. But HR is such a competitive industry. There are many HR agencies. Why should I come and use your agency?
Because you'll love us. Yeah, to come and use our agency. Our point...
employ your services, I guess.
Yeah.
The point.
We have a couple of points of difference. One, I like to talk about first and foremost is we are very values aligned with our clients. Not everybody is the right fit. We actually have an overarching philosophy in the Proven Group, and we workshopped it one day with the whole team, the butcher's paper, the whole workshop. By the end of it, we come out with 3 words, and the 3 words are where everybody wins. Mm-hmm. And that is actually how I run the business. That's how I make decisions with Belinda every day on those 3 words. So to answer your question, to come to us, we will ensure that everybody wins. So your experience, you will win in the services that we provide. If it was a company, the company would win, the team would win, we would win, the strategist would win, everybody will win. And the breadth and the depth of experience of the senior HR strategists that we have.
Good. Mark, I'll just move on quickly into another subject, if you don't mind, is that in the SME field, industrial relations is often misunderstood, and there's a complete lack of knowledge, yet the governments are legislating like crazy every second day to bring new legislation in, which in my opinion works against SMEs. But you have an industrial relations arm to your business.
Yes.
How do you think SMEs and those business owners listening to us today should approach the issue of industrial relations?
So within industrial relations in the Proven Group, Beck is one of our leading industrial relations lead, and she's heavily involved in the EBAs or EAs, is what they're called now, unions. But under industrial relations as well is the workplace investigations, and that's what we get heavily involved in. Not necessarily because they don't have anybody internally that can't do it, but when we're called into the bigger companies is because there's a conflict of interest of the internal HR team.
It's about independence.
Absolutely.
Yeah, investigation, that's right.
Definitely.
That's right. And just one other question leading on to that. How is or has AI helped you in your business?
Mm-hmm. That's a great question. AI, where we use AI is to be more efficient. It doesn't replace anything because, as we know, AI does not have the empathy. And empathy is all about people, as you would know. Like, we are the Proven Group. A lot of people actually call us the People Group because that's what we're heavily involved in. But if we use AI, to be quite honest, it might be to rewrite an email, to blogs or some sort of basic writing. As far as the AI as far as people go, just will never, ever stand up to human.
Of course it won't.
It's interesting because a friend of mine, I have to be careful I don't name companies here, but a big IT company, they use AI to read resumes, to look for keywords, So that's a good thing and a bad thing.
Okay.
Because if you are putting the keywords in, that gets you past first base.
That's right.
But if you haven't put the keywords in, but you are a great candidate, you miss out.
That is exactly right. But so as far as resumes go, pre-COVID and many years pre that, all the government organisations and websites would always have an ATS, which is an applicant tracking system. So it's still the AI. Since COVID, now all the online job boards, so Seek, Jora, Indeed, Adzuna, Career One, all of them have the ATS now. But you're exactly right. There's some great candidates that get missed. And to be honest, when I was writing, I used to find, for example, you'd have like a tradie. He was so skilled and knew what he wanted to do in that job, and he wanted to apply for a hospital for a maintenance job, for example. He wouldn't have known that even what key selection criteria was, so why would he write one? But he wouldn't get the job, but he got missed.
Yeah, it's interesting because
Very.
The other day I was watching briefly in the morning, I think it was Channel 7, and they had AI-generated voice of the two compares and asked them to pick, and you could not tell. And they're saying the problem with that is that AI-generated voice is what the scammers are using now to ring you and say, look, I'm sorry, Mum, but I've lost my phone. Can you send me? It's
scary.
Anyway,
scary.
we digress.
Yeah.
So where'd the name Proven Group come from?
So when it was just the resume business, the business used to be called Proven Resume Results.
Okay, yep.
Then when the recruitment pillar was established, it was Proven Recruitment Results. Then through another 3 years on, as I mentioned before, when we branched out into HR, we thought, well, we can't have proven HR results. We kept the word proven because of the awards that we've won.
Yep.
And so we thought we would group the businesses together, so the Proven Group. But now 13 years on, without knowing, it was meant to be the Proven Group because of the way the business model and the way the business is built now, because the team is around the country with associates in the business. So we are actually a group of businesses.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. And you're from Ballarat now, you've spread into Geelong. Where else are you got connections?
Yeah, so Ballarat, Melbourne, Geelong, we have offices.
Yep.
And then connections literally around the country. So the team's heavily based along the East Coast and come back up to Adelaide. We actually even do have a team member that lives in Bali's. We call her FIFO. She's one of our trainers, so she'll fly in and fly out and train as well wherever she needs to go.
So, and the structure then is sort of affiliates. So there's you and a couple of main employees, and then you've got connections and contractors, for a better word, or is that?
Yeah, we like to call them associates.
Associates, sorry.
Yep. So no, that's okay. So yes, we do have a handful of employees. Being a recruitment company, wasn't sure if I wanted employees, but the ones we got are very hand-picked, and they'll listen to this, so I'll get out of it that way. And the associates, because building the business is that I needed the skill and expertise of every single person that I have on the team. And as I say, my strength is actually meeting people, identifying opportunities, building relationships and connecting. So nothing fills my cup more than actually filling other diaries.
And that's really clever because you know what your skill set is, and don't try and be an expert in something you're not, but get an expert in.
Absolutely.
All
that's
right,
exactly
Carmel.
right.
That's very good.
Carmel. In fact, I watched the video off your website, and some lady called you Carmel.
Yes,
Was it?
yes,
Right?
Carmel.
She had an accent of some description.
I was going to say it's anybody that if they're from the UK or the US. I'm always Carmel.
All right, so Mark and I are going to go out now and interview your staff, your key people. What response are we going to get from them when we ask them the question, what is Carmel's leadership style?
My style. I was going to say leadership.
Now, you did say they're listening.
Yeah.
Right? Or they will listen.
I think I have a very coaching leadership style in that, for example, the last couple of years I have been working very hard, not to delegate, but to actually coach the careers team in particular of actually how to do the client work so I can step away, so I can work on the business and be around more people as opposed to in the business. And it took a couple of years to do it because I had to make sure that they were comfortable, they didn't have any more questions, that they were comfortable and I was comfortable. So I'm never one to leave anyone behind until they're comfortable.
How do you communicate with them? And the reason I ask this question is that met with someone the other day who wanted to show me his systems and processes. Mm-hmm. It was all about people. But everything was documented. He had spreadsheets and measurements and God only knows what. And in the end, I asked him, I said, do you ever go and have a conversation? Or is it all on spreadsheet? And I think I stopped him in his tracks. Yeah. So is that, I gather that's partly what you're saying, is that it's conversational, as I call it.
Very, very conversational. So pretty much the whole team is remote. Because as we say, if the team gets stuck in the office, they're not actually doing their job. They need to be on site working with clients. So we have a number of meetings each week. So we do have our ops meeting, and then every Wednesday at 3:30 we have what's called our pod meeting, because in the business we didn't want it in the traditional structure with myself at the top as director and then CEO, etc., etc. So it's very inclusive. Model. So Belinda, who's my CEO, we sit in the middle, and then we actually have the pods or the pillars coming in a circle. So each of those pillars actually has its own leader, not a manager. They need to lead the team and manage the workflow. And so we have a half an hour meeting with those. We have a half an hour meeting with the trainers, the wellbeing collective, and then also to the ops.
What software programs do you use to run all that?
So we have systemised into a software program called Axello. It's a very large, but we wanted to grow into it. We didn't want to implement something that we're going to grow out of. That tracks all the jobs, all the work, where the budget's at, and the capacity of the strategist or the trainer, depending on who it is. We do use Teams. We also use Zoom as well. And we do have quite a few different subscriptions depending on what the team needs. But we are looking a lot more to consolidate, to be honest, those subscriptions into more of a one umbrella.
Do you ever get the whole team together? Have you ever had them in one spot?
On Zoom we have, but not physically. And I suppose the way with the business, you've got your core, and then we sort of have three layers. So you've got the core of the team, and then that next layer is still very close, and then you've got your third layer. And the third layer, for example, are because we have 35 trainers around the country, and depending on which pillar that they're in, then they'll be in. There's three layers.
And the future, what's your vision? In 5 years' time, where do you... You're obviously somebody that looks for the opportunities and then grows. So where's the next?
So the next, definitely to keep growing nationally. We do have an international partnership with the UK, but that partnership and with the US, but those partnerships are more that if they've got a team here, we'll look after their HR and vice versa. Yep. So we have clients here that have teams over there. But even to, maybe if it's not the UK or the US, I would love to branch out to New Zealand, to be quite honest.
Yeah, it's always the sort of first international step, isn't it, for a lot of businesses?
Oh, what about Tassie? I guess looking forward is, and your business is based on winning clients, but we have this sense of that the economy has really slowed down, and our own clients, we're seeing a pushback or a decline in revenue is what we see happening. Where do you think the economy is going? And if you look at your clients, what's your, thoughts on how they'll survive over the next 12 months?
Well, to be honest, with our clients, and even during COVID, that's where the explosion of the people came from. We grew, that's how, because everybody struggled during that time. Either businesses, whether they closed down or went through the roof as far as their success. But with our clients, we're finding that they're really investing in their people because they know without their people that they won't get to where they're going. So we describe ourselves as a link. So we've got the people strategy and the business strategy, and we describe ourselves as that link. If we can link those two together, then the business will achieve what it's set out. And that's where, when if we conduct like an appraisal and then present a plan and let them know what they're doing really well, not so well, and what is really risk averse, like needs to be done now, that's where we're finding that they're more than happy to invest the money because they can see the value and well-being. That is really big.
And the work from home scenario, because there's lots of businesses struggling with the balance.
Yeah.
Are you sort of dabbling in that space, or because all your folk are working from home technically, I suppose, aren't they?
And remote, on site at businesses and working from home. Of course, being a HR company, we have a work from home policy.
Yeah. So how do you advise businesses that are saying, well, I'd really like to get all my people in here at least 3 days a week, or is there a sweet spot?
It's more, there is in a sense, have a conversation. Like, where is it, why do you want this person to come in, and why does this person want to stay home? And then come to an amicable decision together. Because when something's, forced or pushed and pulled, it just won't meet. So that's the conversation. And quite often we will facilitate those conversations.
Okay, interesting. So how do people get in touch with you, Carmel? Just run through the gamut of things you do and how they get in touch with you.
Okay, excellent. So as I mentioned before, the business now has 9 pillars. So if I just...
Go for it.
Yep, so with those... So yes, it is HR, it is human resources. We do actually talk a lot about people and culture, because when people hear HR or human resources, they think it's a policy, a procedure, an employment contract. As I said before, all that transactional, which you do need the foundation to be able to build. And that's where the people and culture come into it. So that's a transformational space. So we love playing in that space. Industrial relations. Then we also have recruitment and outplacement. Outplacement is something that's not talked about a lot, but it is really needed, especially when you hear the words redundancy or businesses are closing. At least they can help their team move on. OH&S, we do a lot in the safety space. Wellbeing, that is we are rolling out wellbeing 12-month plans for organisations, and a lot around manufacturing, which we love because, as we know, it's a blokey environment, so it's great to see the change and the take-up with EAP as well, employee assistance programs, and the careers are still very strong, even though that sits over here because that's B2C. It's very, very strong, always will be. And, of course, our professional development, which is still a pillar, but it is really a business of its own now, which is Practical Professional Development, is the second business's name. How to get in contact with us so our website is www.theprovengroup.com.au, or if you call our 1300 number, so 1300 502 312, then you'll actually get to speak to even a real person.
Excellent. And you're on LinkedIn, I know.
Absolutely on LinkedIn, yes.
Yeah, well, just on quickly, my final comments is on that is that, as you know, Mark, I spent time on a train yesterday and I like to read a book every time I get on the train, which is quite often. And the one I'm reading at the moment is a great book on psychological hazards. And boy, is that an issue, and I'm coming across this with my clients everywhere I go.
Yep. Yeah, the psychosocial is massive in the... I thought you were going to say you're reading a great book. I actually wrote a book. And it's actually on our website.
What was it on?
Less headaches, happier team, more success.
Oh, right.
And I didn't write it to sell it. It's free. The reason I wrote it is because each chapter is written about the top 10 challenges every business owner faces, regardless of business, industry, size. And it's a very easy read. It's only 100 pages. First chapter is...
I better get on and get a copy.
Staff drive me crazy is chapter 1.
That's right. Well, we've got a book in the making, haven't we? We've done 75 or 6 podcasts now, and I think there's one hell of a book in that.
Absolutely. You have a lot to write about.
So, Carmel, thank you. Really enjoyed chatting to you.
Thank you.
And good luck in the future, and look forward to seeing your business grow.
Thank you very much,
Thank
Mark.
you, Carmel.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.